Early on in the demonstration there, you touched on something about not just training Yoshinkan, but training yourself. So I wanted to put to you a question about the physicality of training that comes from both, I think, Thambu Sensei and also from a student here, Stephanie Menace, about breathing and about relaxing. So specifically the question about breathing was, how do you breathe through a technique, both a stay and uke, particularly a throwing technique? Okay. And the reason I asked that first is because I'm wondering if that will lead to something about relaxing. But I'll leave that to you, Sensei.
It's going to be hard. Okay, so I explained this before. Sorry, I'm reading this, yeah? All of this. Okay, so the idea here now, I explained this before about breathing, right, is to breathe into your nose. Imagine your breath going this way to your center, and then you're breathing out this way. And the way to visualize that is to imagine little bells. And as you breathe, your breath rings those bells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. You can have 20 bells, 3 bells if you want, whatever you want, okay? Breathe in, hold, breathe out. That's what you want to do. So the idea here, can you breathe in? Enrique doesn't have a belly, so it's hard to show. But you want to breathe into your stomach this way, and then breathe out. Okay. The last thing you want to do is breathe into your shoulders, into your chest. So they say with boxers, between rounds, the breathing is so important to get back their energy, their stamina. So that breathing is very important. And when we're stressed, in any walk or any time in life when we're stressed, we breathe into the chest. So you're only taking short breaths. The idea is to, especially when you're stressed, you breathe into your diaphragm here. So you can see my gi moving. I've been drinking lots of beer. So that's the idea. Okay, so when you do a technique here, and my partner grabs me, and I go 1. The problem now is we all do the setup and breathe into the shoulders. Up here. Look at her balance, there's no weight on her at all. So when I go here, I breathe into my diaphragm, and my weight is down here. And it's very heavy. My hands are relaxed, but it's heavy. Because my breath is here, not in the shoulders. And then I exhale as I throw. Okay? So, to keep it simple, it's really hard to do. I mean, to learn, you have to separate it. So you do breathing exercises before, after class, whatever you want. And I don't mean cigarettes, okay? That's the old Yoshinkan way. But when you're training, it's really hard. So think about this. Breathe out when you Kian. So watch Lori Sensei. Yeah? So when she breathes, she Kians, right? Don't worry about breathing in. Okay? And don't worry about it, because no matter how dumb you are, your body will not allow itself to starve of oxygen. So all you have to do is breathe out. And that's all you have to do is okay. Now a step, I breathe out when I throw. So I don't think much about breathing in, I just think about breathing out. And as you progress, people who do jiwaza, you can improve your stamina so much if all you do is concentrate on breathing out when you attack. When you attack, breathe out. Don't worry about breathing in, it's too much to think about. So breathe out when you attack, and step, breathe out when you kia. So Inoue Sensei, someone asked Inoue Sensei, because I don't know how many moves the Kion Dosa Rensoku has, quite a few. Someone asked Inoue Sensei, how many times do you breathe when you do the whole Kion Dosa Rensoku? And he says, once. And I was like, Oh, really? He says, yeah, breathe once at the start. What he meant was, breathe once at the start, and then your body won't let itself starve of oxygen. You will breathe naturally. And if you don't think about it so much, you start to breathe at the right time. If you try and figure it out, it just doesn't work. So, keep it simple. When you punch, when you attack, breathe out. When you throw, when you Kian, breathe out. Okay? So what's the second part?
I think that was it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so we've had a little bit of a few questions about why you left Yoshinkan. So I wanted to ask you about that, if there's anything that you could elaborate on, why it was necessary to take that course of action for you.
Okay, so in Japan there's a thing called the Iemoto system, where the top job, the job of the Grand Master is handed down from father to son or father to daughter or something. And I think Shoda Gozo Kancho always wanted his son, Shoda Yasuhisa, to take over. He tried to do that in 1993, but it didn't work. And after Shoda Gozo Kancho passed away in 1994, the Yoshinkan stayed together, which is very rare for a big organization. But it stayed together for 14 years. There were only 1 or 2 dojos that we know that left. 14 years it stayed together. And then in 2007, Shoda Yasuhisa came back. He had the backing of some of the board of directors. His brothers were on the board. He came back, and one of his first jobs was to kick out Inoue Sensei and Chida Sensei. Now I'm cutting the story short a bit, but essentially he kicked them out. His idea is he wanted the Yoshinkan to become an umbrella organization like the Aikido. What he forgot was, what held all of us together in the Yoshinkan was the technique and the technical excellence that was handed down in the Honbu dojo. Shoda Yasuhisa, and I'm missing out the term sensei for a good reason, chose to model it after the Aikido. And he threw out the 2 top technical people in the dojo, in the organization. To my undying shame, I did nothing about it. I should have taken up a petition, maybe it wouldn't have done any good, but I should have done something. And I'll say this out loud, because there's not many people in my life I dislike as much as him. He robbed, raped, and killed the Yoshinkan, the international body. I'll say that again. And Andrew McBride, you can hate me for it if you want. Shoda Yasuhisa robbed, raped, and killed the IYF. And to my undying shame, it took me 2 years before I said, no, enough is enough. I'm out of here. Maybe I lacked courage, maybe I wanted to give him another go, I don't know. I think essentially it was too hard to leave the Yoshinkan. But I think I also had lack of balls. And now there's planned afoot with John Marshall Sensei and a few others. They've started a Yoshinkan Aikido fellowship group. And please support it if you can. They've got some good moves and some good ideas, which we'll discuss over the next couple of interviews. Going back to Shoda Yasuhisa, he never taught me. He was never my teacher. I spent 10 days with him in the Philippines, and if you ask the other people who were there with me, they will vouch for me. Very seldom do you meet a man with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And I probably could get sued for slander here, but I've checked the English dictionary and that's what the description is. So, I got nothing anyway, I got no money, so go for it, sue me. That's the truth.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I can push any further on that. It's possible. You touched on the idea of excellence. One of the questions from one of our past students, Malcolm, is he asks whether excellence is an objective quality. If so, who gets to decide what is excellent? Now, I asked that in the context of, you mentioned the Aikido Yoshinkan fellowship, started by Thambu Sensei. A lot of discussion there is around downgrades, giving out of titles, that sort of thing. So, who gets to decide who is worthy and who is not?
The downgrades and the certification is a mark of your own journey. There is no one rule fits all. There isn't. Never has been, never will be. Guys and girls, we do an art form here. It's an art form that is taught in a scientific manner, but it remains an art form. How do you gauge who's better, Van Gogh or Picasso? It's a matter of your feeling, your likes, your dislikes. And I think that should never change. We should all be free to pursue our artistic design, artistic qualities, whatever. Having said that, there has to be some baseline, base rules. And for me, when I got my A's done, I said I didn't want it. I said I wasn't ready, I didn't want it. There were other people who said that I wasn't worth it, and I agree with them. But don't take it up with me, take it up with the person who gave it to me. If whether I did, between my fourth and fifth dan was like 4 years. Time was too short. I wasn't ready, I didn't want to test, but you take it up with the person who tested me over there when you meet him. So it's a covenant between your teacher and the student. That's all it is. A level of excellence, and you've got to trust your teacher in this. Your teacher says you're good enough, then accept that. Otherwise, don't call that person your teacher. And if someone's got a problem with your level, your downgrade, they need to go see your teacher, not you. You didn't give it to yourself, they gave it to you. So let them go see my teacher. So, if you feel strongly enough about downgrades and stuff like that, train harder, justify it. One more thing, and I'm going to quote Inoue Sensei on this. When you get a sandan certificate or you pass your sandan test, you're not a sandan yet. You finished your journey as a nidan. You're now on your journey as a sandan. Another way you put it is, when you get your sandan, you bought a ticket and you're on the train to the destination. You haven't reached the sandan destination yet, if that makes sense. So look at things in perspective, and it's an art form, and there's no, it'd be sad if we get really dogmatic and say everyone has to do this, and this. You have to let people flourish. And I don't know if that answers your question, Malcolm, but it's not a science for me, it's an art form taught like a science.
I just want to push you a little bit further on the same topic, if you're okay with that. So it does seem to me, though, that some of the problem is teacher interpretation. And that seems to be one of the bones of contention that I read through posts and things on the fellowship. How do you actually stop a teacher who's not worthy from being a teacher?
Okay, two things. One, it's nothing new yet. It's been going for a long time. We've seen people. I've had to sit through gradings in the Yoshinkan by uni students, and everyone's thinking, I'm sitting in Sensei for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and this is rubbish. But there were different levels for uni students, people who are trained at the Home Dojo. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Okay? So now, we look at Aikido, and we look at teachers. For example, there's 3 letters in Aikido, I, Ki, and Do. So if you roughly translate it, I meaning harmonize, love, and Ki meaning power, energy, Do the way. Some teachers think that the Do is the most important, and they run their dojos and teach along those lines. Some people think the key or the focus is most important. The others are important too, but they put that first. And that's the most important. Others think blending is most important. So if you think about our Kama here, Shoda Gozo Kancho said there was never really any split between the Aikikan and the Yoshinkan. If you look at the old magazines, the old Yoshin magazines, and I have them, Kancho Sensei is standing in Kama like this. That's where the word Hanmi comes from. And this was good because O Sensei believed that the main thing in Aikido was to blend. So if you had an attacker come in this way, it was easy to avoid. And it comes from the sword stance too, where you side on. So here, easy to avoid. And gradually, Kancho Sensei said that from Hanmi, for him, the most important thing became the focus. And that's why the stance changed, because he thought you can focus your mind, body, and spirit better this way. That doesn't mean that he doesn't practice the awase or the blending. It's equally important, but he chose to put the focus ahead of everything else. And every teacher who runs a dojo has the ability to do that. If you think that the do is the most important, you run your dojo along those lines. If you think the ki is most important, then that's what you put in front. Of course, you practice the other elements too, but you, as the dojo cho, it's your dojo. You choose what you want to hold up as most important. What was the second part? That was it. Cool. Thank God for that. Okay.
So I believe that you have an important announcement, and no, it's not anything to do with getting married.
Yep.
I wondered if you could enlighten the viewers.
Okay. I've always said that you cannot learn Aikido on video, etc., etc. Although, I put out 5 really good DVDs, and you can learn Aikido from them. Seriously though, as someone said to me, this is the new reality. And whilst when we come back, and I hope we do, I don't want to teach Aikido where you have to social distance yourself out. It's not possible. You can do that with other arts maybe, but not with Aikido. You need contact. So when I come back, I hope to be able to teach the same way I've been teaching before. It might take time. But what I've realized that people want, as we get busier and busier, is a source of reference. Remember, I came out to Australia at age 18. I was Shodan, and I was hopeless. There was only one Aikido book out here, and that was Dynamic Aikido. In English, Yoshinkan Aikido book. I had nothing. I had no contact with teachers. There was seriously, nothing. And now we have the ability to put information out there forward. So I think the IPTV online is going to be a source of reference. And if you train the way I was taught, you never ask the question in the dojo. If you went outside, you had a few drinks with the teacher, you asked the question. But you only ask conceptual questions, philosophical questions. If you ask, and I never did, if you ask a technical question, you probably get clipped across the head and told, should I ask me in the dojo? And if you ask me in the dojo, it's like, do as you're told. That was it. That was the old school. So I think that has to change. I think with these interviews that I've been doing, you get an insight into the thinking of Jacques Sensei, Robert Master Sensei. They're very frank. They're very open. But also with the interviews, I'm asking them the questions. So it's one eighth down asking another eighth down questions. It's questions you guys can't ask. But the importance in listening to the answers is invaluable. And to some extent, I wish I had this when I was growing up. I made mistakes. You guys think you make mistakes for 3 or 4 months? I used to make mistakes for 20 years, the same mistake over and over before anyone corrected me. So hopefully with this, you can correct yourself. You can check yourself, you can correct yourself. You cannot use it to learn Aikido, but you can use it as a resource to help your Aikido improve, to check yourself. answer the next question?
Yeah, I was about to ask that about how to use it effectively. So,
and how not to use it is think you're going to be some sort of internet warrior by just watching it and learning Aikido through that. No, that's something you get to look at that gives you ideas. Come over here and train in the dojo and make it work. Or train here, go back and see if it gels, because then you can replay. If you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you the answer, but you're not going to get the chance to press my button and go rewind. You can do it at home. I lost my train of thought, but look, there is no such thing, there's Marty Rice Sensei, Flori Smith Sensei, Enrique Chun Sensei. There is no YouTube Sensei. And this is IPTV.online. It's not IPTV Sensei. Okay? It cannot take the place of the dojo, it cannot take the place of your teacher. It's meant to help you take it forward.
So how does something like that gel with the concept of Budo, where you have to come, because it seems to me with a lot of the discussions you've had with people, like with the top instructors that you've had, there's this moment of, or this idea that you must walk through fire, you must punish yourself physically in order to get something. And I know you've explained about using it in unison, but to me it seems, well not to me, but it seems like it's a little bit against that idea of Budo. It's more just learning a technique.
So now, I'm not doing that. I nearly broke my hand. Okay. So my technique can be the best. I can learn on video how to do this, but till I come to the dojo and condition my hand, it's not good. I'm giving you this is giving you the idea to put 2 and 2 together, an extra instruction. You still need a condition. I mean, you can read about how to fall, but unless you fall, again and again and again, it's no good. That can tell you what you're doing right and wrong. That's how you get it. So I don't see there's any different. Even in the old days, all sensei would have books. Akira Sogaku wrote books, manual, technical manuals. So I think this is just a cyber version of those technical. Yeah. So what's the smart stuff? Yeah.
Moving with the times.
Moving with the times. Yeah.
There's a question.
As Malcolm said, this is the new reality.
And it's Reality Dojo 101. Okay, so without all the tears and roses. There's a question that just popped up here from Ziggy that asks about, in some of your previous interviews, you've asked guests to talk about the difference in Yoshinkan then and now. And he says that you seem slightly discontent with the answers you received.
Lena, can we see the whole question, please? Sorry,
thank you very much.
It's his idea at its best.
Okay, so maybe, can you please talk about the differences you see? So this is between Yoshinkan Aikido then and now, so I'm assuming from, let's say, when you started as a boy in the 50s?
That's a good question, Zig. And a lot of people ask that question. Ramlan Sensei asked it, Phil Musson asked it, and I think it's a matter of perception. Not everything done in the past was good, but a lot of it made us who we are. And one of the things I asked Jacques Pai Sensei, right? I said, what would you think, like, what stood out most in people who train in the old Koganai dojo? And he said that you had an uke and you could throw the uke as hard as you like and do whatever you like, they'd get up again. The only way to stop them was to kill them. And then they'd still try and stand up. And for me, training in the Yoshinkan and training my uncle's dojo taught me that I don't give up. And don't get it wrong, sometimes giving up is not, you can stop Aikido, but not give up. You can do other things and not give up. The only time for me giving up is when you give up on yourself. For me, that's giving up. And Aikido has taught me, not just the Yoshinkan, but my uncle's dojo too. You had the choice whether you come into the mat or not, onto the mat. Once you came onto the mat, you had no choice. And that was the mentality that I had growing up. Dragon Sensei once brought a fourth dan, Aikikai, instructor out with him. His name is Mike Scott, and he's very famous. I was maybe Sankyu, all of 15 years old, and they were training Jodo, or we were training Jodo with Dragon Sensei, and after the class, we came into the dojo, because we were training outside, and my uncle said to Mike, throw him around. And you could see on Mike's face, he didn't want to, don't want to throw his little brat around, but he couldn't say no, so he started throwing me around. And every time, he threw me really hard. And my uncle was sitting there, and just across from him, my father was sitting there. And he just threw me around like you wouldn't believe, and then he said, your turn. And I went to do techniques on him, and every time I went to do a technique, he'd hit me and said, don't forget the other hand. I was battered and bruised, right? And after about 15 minutes or so, he bowed and said, off you go. And he turned around and said to my uncle, no matter what I did to that little bastard, he kept standing up. And my technique was shit. But it's that thing of, it's what you do, you don't give up. And I think the Yoshinkan bred that into all of us. Next week, and this is a plug for next week's interview, I've got, it's called the Grumpy Old Bastards interview. So I've got Jacques Pai Sensei again, Robert Mustard Sensei again, also Dave Rubin Sensei. And the amount of time I spend in the Yoshinkan is a fraction compared to what these guys spend. So we're going to take you down memory lane next week, and I'm going to run them through this question again. But for me, you can talk about Yoshin, but as soon as someone hits you hard and you wilt, where's the Yoshin? Where's that spirit? Where's that strong spirit? And that's what the old school taught you. People like Terada Sensei were tough as nails. People like Thambu Sensei, tough as nails. Kushida Sensei, Inoue Sensei. You should see the punishment they went through. And for my money, they wouldn't be half as good in Aikido, technique, spirit, if they didn't go through that. Now, I kicked someone in the dojo once, a teenager. He went home and told his mom. If I did that when I was young, my mom would say, don't go. But things have changed. Can I still teach like the old days? I don't know. To some people I can, some people I can't. I would like to, because I think that's what Yoshinkan Aikido is about. Obata Sensei, when he came down here in 1997, he went back to the States and he wrote me a letter and he said he was amazed and so pleased to see the spirit and technique of Shoda Gozo Sensei alive and well in Australia. And for me, that big respect. Thank you very much, Obata Sensei. It's those things that help us know we're on the right track. But again, we cannot be stuck in the past. We need to make sure that our teaching, our techniques stay relevant in this day and age. And that's our challenge. How do we meld the past, the traditions of the past, into the current? If we don't, all our dojos will close. And if we do, then stay open, but don't keep the past. We turn into some sort of joke, which I've seen a lot on the internet lately. People doing no-touch Aikido and shitenduke practicing with 1.5 meters apart.
Connection is lost.
Okay, all right, people. So sorry about that, but again, technology and finance is the two banes of my life.
So about half an hour ago, I asked a question about breathing, and it was supposed to lead into how to keep yourself calm and relaxed, particularly when you're in a situation on the street where you tense up. that was the part of the question from Phil Sensei over in England.
Okay, all right. So just to elaborate on that question, Phil Sensei rang me the other day and he said, we're always telling our students to relax in the dojo, relax, relax, relax. But in reality, in fight, you tense up. So when someone comes at you in your face like this and is talking at you, if you're not used to the situation, you will tense up. The adrenaline starts to pump, you will tense up. But also, it's natural to tense your body to take a punch. So how does the relaxing in the dojo help you? Because we're told relax, relax, relax. But really, in a real situation, it's different in all the kung fu movies where someone punches you and then you suck it up and you bend over twofold. That's bullshit. In reality, you see a punch coming, you're going to tense up. And to think otherwise might be nice, but it ain't going to work. Everyone tenses up, everyone in the situation. When someone in your face like this, you tense up. When you get hit, you tense up. So, Phil's question is, why do we tell people to relax? And for me, the idea is to relax here. If you relax here, then the technique will come out. Or not the technique, you will come out. If you're too tense here and here, it doesn't work. Of course, your body tenses up, but this relaxes. Right? So when we do, sorry, can we move this back this way? Okay, so when we do like a multiple attacker, so we got a little bit of room, so I'm going to try and keep it tight. Right? What I need to do is slow my thinking down. I need to slow down. So people say slow down. If I slow down physically, I'm done. I slow down mentally. I'm moving fast, but my brain is slowed. I'm in control. And that's the same. If you train and you're relaxed, then in real situations, you maintain your presence of mind. The body tenses up, but here it's relaxed. And you see things happen. You see things, believe me, you will see that haymaker come through, you will see that front kick coming straight at you, and you will deal with it. As long as you don't think I'm going to do nikkajo or hijishime or some shit like that, sorry I swore, you will deal with it. Let the true self come out. And you know what? Trust yourself. Trust your training. Will Aikido work in the ring, in the cage or whatever? No. Unless you train for it. You train for it, yes, it'll work. How many people want to do that? I don't. And in martial arts, in life we say, be the change that you want to see. Now, if I want to see people become better, I don't become a thug. I'm not saying people who fight in the ring and stuff are thugs, but I don't become a street fighter. Half the time, Aikido, martial arts, karate, whatever, doesn't work because street fighters love to fight. We don't. Street fighters fight all the time. We don't. And we have ethics. We're good human beings. They don't. And the person who wins the fight is not the fastest, it's not the best, it's the one who's willing to do the most damage. Believe me, I've seen people blast for no reason. So, if that's the route you want to go down, be my guest. But for me, I want to be the person that I am, and I want to be the best that I can be. And Obata Sensei, if I quote him, says, Aikido is about balance. And about bringing that balance to all parts of your life. And about looking after yourself, your dojo, your family, both financially, physically, in a defensive way. That's your job. So it's all about balance, but it's also about protection. But it's not about being a nasty, mean-ass bastard. If that's you, you don't need martial arts. You don't need martial arts at all. Okay? Next question.
I've got one about the ASI from Jane in England, and she was saying that, did you intend for Shudokan International to become as big as what it has?
Thanks, Jane. No, it's not big. It's actually quite small. It was never an intentional thing. After I left the Yoshinkan, the whole Shudokan family moved, or Shudokan, as in Aikido Shudokan family, moved under Inoue Sensei. And after Inoue Sensei passed away, I felt the only way to keep his legacy and that of my uncles alive was to go on our own. So I thought, would I rejoin the Yoshinkan? Would I go under Chida Sensei? Would I stay in the Nishinkan? Finally, I thought the only way to do it was to go on my own. And I wrote to Inoue Sensei's wife, Inoue Aiko Shiha, and I said exactly those things. And she said that Inoue Sensei and her had spoken before his passing, and he said if anything was to happen to him, I should go on my own. I had the technique and I had the support and everything to do it on my own. So I said, thank you. And then I wrote to her and said, would you consent to being the president of our organization? And she wrote back and said, again, discussed it with the husband before Inoue Sensei passed away, and he said that anything she could do to help us, she should. And so she kindly agreed to be our president. And for me, with her on board, I can keep the legacy of Thambu Sensei alive and that of Inoue Sensei alive. So that's my job, that's my task. And I'm trying to do the best of my ability. Aikido Shudokan International, here's a plug, is open to people who are like-minded in Aikido. And if you're interested, get in touch with us. I'm not interested in growing it just for the hell of it. I want quality, and I want people of quality.
So keeping the flame alive, to quote a nice slogan.
Yeah, that's right. Hashtag, Mark, don't forget, Mark, the hashtag.
Okay, so one of the subsequent questions from Jane was also, would you like to see it bigger, which you pretty much just answered. How would you go about growing it the way that you would like it to grow?
I don't know. It's taken on a life of its own. And what I like in Aikido Shudokan International is all the instructors look after each other. It's a small group. Most of us know each other. When we have gashokus or camps, the instructors really look after each other. They go out of their way. And for me, this is really, really important. When I first went to the Yoshinkan, and you can ask people like Darren Sensei, John Marshall Sensei, even Jacques Pai Sensei, no one cared. You sink or swim, no one cared. You came in, you had to find your way from airport to dojo, whatever. Here we try and do that, we try and look after you. So what I want is a caring community. I don't mean that in a wanky way. Am I allowed to say that? Okay. I don't mean that in a wanky way, but in a way where martial artists come together and care for each other. Now, I'm not saying the Yoshinkan was bad. It wasn't perfect, but and I try and model my dojo here on the Yoshinkan of the 80s and 90s. Succeed or not, I don't know. I try and model it, but I also try and correct what was missing. So if someone makes the effort to come, we try and meet them halfway. And when you come and stay in the dojo, everyone helps you. It's a family. And you make connections that last a lifetime. Just like when I first went to the Yoshinkan in 1983, I met Jacques Pai Sensei. In 89, I met Robert Mustard Sensei, and we're still firm friends. I met Dave Rubin Sensei in 86, 87. So, you know, these friendships never died because they were bonded through training, blood, sweat, and tears, the old cliche. A question from Kelvin Sensei in Singapore is about what makes one a good leader in the context of a martial arts dojo or organisation. I wouldn't have a clue, Kelvin. Truth. But let me say this, right? The mistake that people make is they expect all teachers to be leaders. They expect all leaders to be teachers. It's two different things. Not all teachers are leaders, and not all leaders are teachers. Sometimes you'll find someone who can do both. Right? I'm a teacher, and maybe I'm a little bit of a leader, but I'm also smart enough to know that I'm really stupid. So I surround myself with people who are smarter than me. That's why Kelvin always looks to you for advice. Now, if I slandered anyone, you're going to have to represent me too, Kelvin. But it's important to know your capabilities and your limitations. Don't settle for them. Push your limitations, but it's important to know them. And we try and model leaders or managers so they can become coaches, so they become teachers, to breed the next generation. Not always possible. It's a very special person that is a good leader and a good teacher. But all of you out there, don't let that stop you. Try to aim to be good at both.
When you are looking at your regular student who turns up to your classes, how do you know that one might make a good teacher?
You don't pick. You give everyone who comes on the mat 100%. And I do mean 100%. If you're not willing to do that, don't take their money. Then you single out the ones who stay and you give them an extra 20, 50%. But your base level as a teacher has to be 100%. Otherwise, don't take their money. Don't take their money, you're a fraud. Even if you don't like them, still teach them. But if they stay on, and they stay on after class, and they're willing to train, then you give them extra. And those are the ones who are going to be good.
Okay. Now, I just, in finishing up, you've been asking a similar question to most of your guests, so it's only fair that it should come back to you. In these times that we have, what sort of advice can you offer people at the moment in how to get through what is quite a difficult time for everyone?
Watch Aikido TV online. Sorry, that's a cheap shot. They say that we don't value something until we lose it. I know in the last 2 or 3 months, a lot of us have lost things that we like. And we've discovered, I miss the dojo, I miss training, I miss golf, I miss footy, right? We're lucky, we realized it, and now we're going to have another chance. Don't waste it. So, sorry, for the here and now, if you get to sleep in all you can. Relax, drink a lot, sleep in, that's good. But when we come back, if you've discovered what you've missed, then this is your second chance. This is the second go. And don't waste it. Don't waste it. That's my advice. Different countries are coming out of it, and the problem with us as human beings, we say we learn from our mistakes. This person never learns from my mistakes. Never. I keep making them same mistakes 7, 8 times just to make sure it's a mistake. But you've got the opportunity now. If you miss something, then don't waste it. This is your second chance, second opportunity. And use this hiatus to reset your thinking, reset things. We're going to reset things in the dojo and make some changes. My advice to you, use it as an excuse, use it as a reason, reset, and don't waste what you value. Thank you very much. Thank you.